Hi, everyone. My name is Alex. I recently joined Datamundi as a process improvement manager, where I'm supporting process and tool expansion of their operations for AI data process unit. Um, for the last 4 years, I worked at Amazon AGI as a head of quality for AI multilingual data, where I collaborated with data scientists and language engineers for multilingual AI models. But before this, I worked for about um, 15 years in the translation and localization industry, being a project manager, translator, everything in between. Um, and now I'm gonna talk a bit about what I saw in my transition from localization to data processing for machine learning, and I'll touch a bit on how you can leverage your expertise and how to keep pace with the rapid change, and also build partnerships with the data scientist team. I'm not sure if the presentation is
You can launch
shared.
from your computer if you like, Alexandru.
Oh, so okay, so there's no there won't be a presentation. Okay.
If you'd like, I can run from my computer, but I think you'd be much more comfortable if you run from yours.
Okay. Just a quick second, please.
While you're opening, perhaps you can say a few words. Was it a quick process when you switched from localization to a data person? Did it take years or did it take months?
It was instant. So that's the very interesting part of it, because I worked for a long time in translation and localization, and I had several types of roles under my belt, which I could use. And when I started working on data processing for AI, it was just a question of understanding and learning the terminology, and also for Amazon, learning the whole culture there as well. But it was instant for me. So don't get discouraged if you want to do that. Uh, quick second.
If you'd like, I have your presentation on my computer and I can help you
Yeah,
with that.
please. That would be much easier and faster, because I think it would probably take me another minute or so.
Okay, there we go.
Good stuff. Thank you. Good stuff. Thank you. So on the second slide, um, I'll just present what I'm going to cover in this presentation really quickly. I'm going to go through the challenges and opportunities I saw when shifting from localization to data processing, how data professionals work with linguists, and what's usually expected of you as a localization professional, how to position and upskill um, yourself with these data processing teams, and at the end, I'll go through some key takeaways. On the next slide, I'm going to talk a bit about the differences and the intersect point between data processing and localization, because as we know, data processing for machine learning uses a lot of data in all kinds of format to make predictions and decisions. Um, the the data preparation basically can be done by data engineers and language engineers, but some of the easier tasks are done by data annotators or data associates, how they're sometimes called. So these are these people are linguists or not linguists, depending on the task. But the idea is that a lot of the times this work is multilingual, and this is where it crosses paths with localization. In localization, by contrast, the majority of people working to adapt content are certified or at least experienced linguists who adapt content to local markets. So I've seen lately a lot of machine translation post editing um, requests, as well as human QA, which is all done by certified linguists. And this is where I'd say these two avenues are where it crosses in the data processing world. But three of the most specific use cases that I saw, which are at the intersection point between these industries, I saw empty output adaptation, and on these I worked as well at Amazon, being some of the stepping stones that I use to get more used to data processing. So, machine translation output adaptation, which uh, is an easy way to adapt data sets to other languages. Dataset enrichment, which includes annotation, the annotation of parts of speech of a data set, and quality assurance checks, both text and audio, and especially for non-English locales. On the next slide, I'm going to touch a bit on the challenges that I can see that you'll be facing when making this pivot. Um, I'd say the biggest for me was learning new terminology and concepts around how data is processed, and um, and this makes it very important to understand also the machine learning process as a whole, not just separated concepts and terminology. When preparing, for example, data in one of the steps for machine learning lifecycle, you'll probably hear of transcription, tokenization, normalization. When training a machine learning model, you need to define labels like sentiment, intent, speaker turns, entry boundaries. When you fine tune a model, you'll use words like ranking, which means ordering model outputs by confidence or relevance. Another challenge that I saw was to keep up with evolving data needs inside the organization. We know that AI moves fast, and big companies have already trained their foundational models. At this point in the AI development, as far as I saw, it's the most of the efforts are towards fine tuning, which means adapting foundational models to niche domains like legal or marketing. Tomorrow's AI might demand voice-enabled chatbots, which means that in order to do that, your processes will need to pivot to supply labeled audio clips for these use cases. Another challenging area that I see is the implementation of the data processing services. You'll need flexible yet standardized processes, and for this, um, my best suggestion or discovery are standard operating procedures and RACI charts for each step of the way. Everyone being aligned on these tooling that needs to be scalable and allow API integrations and automations, and QA strategies that need to combine both automated filters and human spot checks. On the next slide, we have the opportunities. And the good news is that localization specialists are very well positioned to make this transition because there's so many roles and processes in the localization world that that are being used in the data processing world, from localization engineers to project managers to QA experts. These are all transferable roles. And we already know that in localization, you would work with machine translation post-editing evaluation, for example, or blue scores or error type labeling. This is maybe less prevalent in the industry, but you definitely hear about them. Project managers and vendor managers already work with in-country translators and reviewers who can enrich data sets in with regional idioms or use their linguistic knowledge to label the data sets. And these are resources that other industries don't have. So this is, for me, it's a value add for our industry. There are also other opportunities for career growth as well. When you step into a data role, like an annotation lead or a language engineer on the data side, you can become the multilingual expert, and you will become at some point very critical to your organizational AI expansion if it's something that the organization is looking forward to doing. On the next slide, I'm going to talk a bit about how data professionals work with linguists. And one of the first steps for me is getting involved and discussing with the data scientists about their business use cases and work backwards from that. It's always important to remember that the data scientists that are trying to build models or apps, AI apps, they know best what their business use cases, and sometimes might not be totally proficient to communicate that to people that want to help them. So I'd say even though the data scientists, they've already drafted the initial guidelines, you will definitely need to work with them to clarify the steps and the expectations. And also a very important thing that I saw being very valuable was to create clear and simple instructions, even non-technical, for the data annotators. So if you are working with data annotators, if you're one yourself, always think of how can I create these guidelines or instructions, we can call them, as simple and as clear as possible. And also when trying to do this, always zoom in on the small steps and then zoom out uh, to see again the business use case of the data scientist so that you can put them into perspective. So make sure that you're working on relevant steps for the use case. Um, Also, AI project pivot constantly, change constantly. You might annotate 1,000 clips only to learn that the model misclassifies slang. You'll need to be ready to revise instructions mid-project, perhaps edit speaker turn rules or add new entry label categories. And of course, everything needs to be delivered in 24 hours or 48 hours, but just keep that in mind. Also, keeping a tight feedback loop with the data scientist customers is very important. This allows to review errors and implement feedback really fast. There's no specific technical prerequisite for localization project managers, as far as I know, as far as I saw when I joined data processing. But I would advise to get to know the basic concepts, terminology, and also tools that are available. And I'm going to go through a few of them in the next slide. Okay, positioning and upskilling the localization team. So we talked a bit about the context of the two domains, localization and machine learning, a bit about the competitive advantages, but how do we best position ourselves with the data team so that we work closer with them, even as an outside collaborator? So I'd start by identifying where your skills are and where you can add the most value. Um, Look at where you spend most of your working time and map all your skills to different data processing steps. You might see there are certain tasks that you already are doing that seem, or even the data processing tasks might seem logical and familiar, like evaluation or tagging or ranking, which will allow you to jump straight into a project management role with not much further training. But I would also advise that you'd still upskill into fundamentals. For this, you'll find free courses online, YouTube, Coursera, Hugging Face. I recommend AWS. I took some courses from them. They're great. I'm not sure if I am allowed to say that, but they have like the skill builder site, AWS Educate, Machine Learning University. They're all mostly free. They have amazing resources. They have even a language engineer course path that I recommend that teach you all the steps in a data pipeline. Uh, Next step, I'd say, is learn a bit of Python and SQL to run data quality checks. Even though you don't have standardized processes for QC, even running a simple script to flag errors, I think can save hours of manual work.
Alex,
Then,
let's leave a couple of minutes for questions.
yeah,
If you'd like to wrap up, and we'll shoot some questions at you because I'm sure many people want to ask how to make the switch. Right? What's the
sure,
pivotal moment to get from localization into data?
sure. Yeah, I'd say the most important thing that it's last, but it's the most important is build a trust with your customer team. That means offer to define guidelines or set up bi-weekly QA meetings with them, retrospective meetings after deliveries. Offer to go above and beyond for them. I think that's very important. It was very important when I was working with vendors to see that. And three main takeaways, I'd say upskill. That's very important. Work backwards from business use cases and iterate fast. Put together processes, leverage automation, QA, but move fast. Thank you. Happy to take any questions now.
Okay. So maybe from here we go to questions. And thanks so much, Alexandra, for the amazing playbook.
Sure.
Because
Thank
it
you.
pretty much can be used as a playbook. So first question would be, I think we should touch a little bit more on data privacy. And the question is, what is the best solution to save client materials data privacy while you're using AI? And I think that's probably top of everybody's mind and a lot of conversations about data privacy. So what's your take on that?
I'd say I agree 100% that data privacy is very important. And the only way that I see in my experimentation as well is to run the IC safe, is to run models, AI models locally as much as possible so that no content, no PII content, any sensitive content is being sent to other servers. That's how I usually do it, and it is possible. You can do it with a minimum amount of cost as well, depending a lot on the volume, of course. But I'd say to a point, you can run local models or have different solutions that do not send out uh, customer information, but always with customer consent. I'm always for that. So they need to be involved in understanding the trade-offs of using AI for certain QA tasks or um, any tasks for that matter for their data processing.
May I
Thank you
ask?
so much. Obviously, there's an added layer of global different data privacy requirements globally, but that would warrant a separate session on its own, probably. Right.
Alex, may I ask,
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
Go
the
ahead.
pivotal moment? How did the change happen for you to jump from localization to data? And do you see many other people jumping?
So I did the jump 4 years ago when I didn't know that AI would become so big. And I always wanted to be closer to data, to statistics, I've always been in languages, but I also wanted to learn more about what's there, what's out there. Localization, as we know, it's not a really big industry. Like we know each other in the industry, and I wanted to see what's outside of the fence. And I looked up some of the companies. I did exactly what I just told you. Like I saw what are um, my skills that can be used in data, and then applied for these jobs. And I applied for a localization program manager job in a team that was doing data processing. So I think that's I think always pivot to something that you already know, that you can bring value with your skills, and then you can move forward from there.